player in CONCACAF. So, you know, in his position. So we all know what Ravel can bring to us. He's a step above, a class above most players. And when we can get him playing well, he's a problem for everybody. Right about this moment in time, Ravel's okay. He's not said anything to me about contract. I do know that he's got a contract situation going on in England, but I don't think that's going to affect us. I hope it doesn't affect us. And I think his ability to be able to come out to Suriname in the first place, that's what happened. So now that he's here, I think a fit Ravel and the Ravel that's focused on what I'm playing and playing well can only be a good thing for Jamaica. But then, you know, obviously, with anybody dropping out, we have to be able to put Damien over there because we was getting a little bit of trouble. And Damien is not only a good man-to-man defender, he's also a good covering defender. So that's why we made that adjustment. And Kevin, yes, he was really good, but I was just glad that in game we could find somebody like Kevin who's be able to play a secondary position there, and he looked really good at centre back. So these are things for us to think about, and you know, like I said, there are other players who are in the squad who could fill in, but they're also, the way how I picked the squad was that there are players who can play secondary positions as well. So that's important.
All right, let's move on to Alex. Good afternoon, Alex.
Good afternoon, Coach Paul. Alex here. I want to ask a question. You mentioned about 16 players, the core 16 players, and the 7 development players. Yeah. Is the development players are locally based, or English based, or they mix?
Yeah, so that 7 is a number that we're aiming for. You know, that's a long-term number. So sometimes it's going to be 6, sometimes it might be 5. I hope sometimes it might be 15 in terms of the big number. But yes, I mean, that's going to be locally developing players. It could be players who play in the Jamaican league. It could be players who play in America, players who are playing in England. You know, these young up-and-coming players who we want to be beside the stars, such as Andre Blake, Damien Lowe, Ravel Morrison, Devin Williams, you know, the senior players in the squad. So, yes, they come from all over, and it's just about the pathway for these players to get into our team and making sure that these guys develop their full potential. So that's the way it's not, sometimes it won't be as big a number as 7. That's the number that we aim for. But I don't think that we've used any more than 16 players for a tour. And that's where we got the number 16 from. So I'm just trying to succession plan and bring players through as well as win games.
My final question.
Yes, sir.
Are you going to handle them and press tomorrow because they're pressing triangular and they keep more possession of the ball? Or would you exploit them in behind and get the players hitting the ground running at the first 15 to 20 minutes in the game?
Well, like I said, I've watched Mexico about 4 times now, and I'm going to watch them when I finish this press conference. We've got our own plan. We've got to, you know, really get at them in the areas where we believe that they are strong, or sorry, that they are weak, and really try and stop them from getting us in the areas where we feel they're strong. So yes, we've got a plan, and again, just like your colleague alluded to earlier, if we're under the cosh and we need to change, we're skillful enough to be able to make changes in the game and to be able to understand the air. We all know that Mexico like to attack down the wings, and we all know that we like to attack down the wings as well. So it's going to be a game of will and seeing what's in the first 20 minutes and making sure that we've got each area covered, but we can react to things happening inside the game as well.
All right, so let's move to the next question. Just open your mic and go ahead.
Paul, Joe Graham here, this is Sports TV. All right. So my first question that I'd like to ask is about Rolando Arns, a recent debutant international program. Can you please tell us what you thought about his performance and how do you see him fitting into the system going forward?
Who we talk about?
Arns. Yeah.
Oh, Rolando Arns.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Rolando is a player of great potential. He's done a great job in England. He's very much a wide player, neutral areas. I'm a person that likes to go over, around, or through the press, whatever the game throws it to us. He's a player that can handle the ball nicely. He's nice and positive when he gets the ball. He's got a good first touch. I think the game last week made him realise that he hadn't played a lot this season, and the pace of the game caught him out a little bit. So he's really coming back, but potentially he's a fantastic player. So I wanted to get him in. But going forward, he can fit into a variety of different positions, and he's done a great job in England. And I just think that he's got the right commitment and the right kind of resilience to be able to fit into a squad. He can play right or left, and he can drift into the 10 positions and find space in behind the midfield lines. So that's the type of player that I see him as, and that's the type of player that if we can find him, he's got goals in his repertoire. So that's what I want to add to the team as well.
All right. Second question. This might be a slightly controversial question. However, I was in the National Stadium last week, and I would have seen the likes of Daniel Johnson, a very, very was a very prominent figure in Jamaican football, scoring, in fact, most recently against Mexico. His omission from the squad was, some would say, quite controversial. Some would say they're not sure why this was. I spoke to him, and he said he's always ready and willing to play for Jamaica. Speak to us about his absence and also about his willingness to still come out and support the boys, regardless of not included in the 23.
Yeah, that's the type of thing I want to see. I want to see players like that coming out and supporting the guys. It's important. A choice needs to be made, and Daniel likes to play in the 10 area. So I think you'll probably agree that Ravel has probably earned that place going forward. So again, the last group that I initially invited, everybody that won the game against Honduras in the last camp was invited back, everybody. And so that meant that Daniel was probably not invited back because he wasn't part of that squad. I wanted to not change a winning team. So that's why Daniel probably wasn't invited back. And then we go through to choosing another squad. It's just that Daniel wasn't. There's nothing personal or controversial about the decision. I had to choose, and I chose. I sent Daniel a text, and I told him the reasons why. And I believe that's what was important. That's not to say that Daniel won't be invited back in the future, but he wasn't invited to this one. And like I said, he and Ravel play in the same position. So it's that's why it's nothing more than that.
All right, let's move.
All right.
Good afternoon, everyone, colleagues, and Coach Paul. Good afternoon again.
Good afternoon.
Minzy from Coach's Desk. All right, 2 questions. We just want to see if you could give us some information on the omission of Dylan Barnes, seeing that he has been around the team and the quote-unquote the second string goalkeeper for quite some time. He did well in Catalonia, and we noticed his absence. 2, is it a situation where your philosophy does not support a traditional central defensive midfielder? Because I've noticed also that when you have your team selection, that sort of player is actually missing. So those are the 2 questions I'd love for you to answer.
Okay. Again, Dylan Barnes is a player that was initially called, but he's unfortunately injured. So he can't come. He's got a calf injury, plus he's out of a club. QPR have let him go. So, I think he's probably got his bread and butter, which is he's searching for a club to think about. So that's why he was omitted. He was initially called, but he had he broke down actually in a Catalonia game. So I think that was quite sad for us. But this is football, and the way how I like to play is quite fluid. I do like a central midfield player, a defensive guy, but sometimes I like a guy to sit there and play deep line midfield player. But sometimes I like the players to rotate and make sure that whoever's there will play there for 30 to 60 seconds. I think, yes, we probably are looking for one. There is one who we've scouted, but again, I just love the team to have balance about it. So instead of having a central midfield player who is dedicated to that position, I believe that they should be able to go forward, and the others be able to sit in and be that central midfield player for that little bit of time. I think Lambert has done a great job in helping us in that area, and we'll look to develop him. But I'm always on the lookout for more, so that there is competition for places. So that's the answer to that question. It's quite fluid.
All right, let's move to someone else. Good evening, and go ahead.
Good evening, Coach Paula. This is Sports Down the Middle, T-Got, aka Tyrone, aka T-Got. All right, having lost the 2 games against Mexico, what have we learned from those 2 losses, and what we need to do differently in order to win this game?
We need to keep 11 players on the pitch, which is that one thing that we learned. I think we did well. We probably did better when we went down to 10 men. Our damage limitation was very, very good. We planned that, from before the game, that we might lose a man. And the players knew exactly what to do, and they did it up until about, 8 or 9 minutes to the end of play. We know that Mexico like to attack in wide areas. We know that they're quick in possession. We know that we're going to have to be disciplined in the way how we play. We know they like to overlap with their fullbacks. So it's nothing new that Mexico would bring. It's just how we deal with it, and how we approach the game. And, that's it. So I really believe that Mexico will come. They won't disappoint us with what we know what they're going to bring. I just don't want us to disappoint them, because we've got some serious potential, and we could really set a precedence and make a statement by beating this team that come here tomorrow.
All right, thanks. Let's move to someone else. Hello?
I'll jump in. Daniel Wheeler from Greener Sports Coach. 2 questions. Just first, I think it was answered a little bit, but considering that Richard King is out injured and the addition of Jordan Scarlett, does that change how you want to start the game defensively, as opposed to the in-game changes where Damon Lowe went down to the right to stop that that attack from Suriname, and Kevin Lambert will move to a more defensive role to kind of shore up that? So that's the first question I wanted to find out.
All right. Like I say, there's different permutations of how we could do things. I think what's important is the people that can come in and do a job, and we trust them to do that job. Everything's an opportunity for people to come in and prove while they were sat down on the bench, looking at me, put me in the game, you put them in the game. This is now their chance to do that. We've seen examples against Mexico actually where that's been proven right and proven wrong as well. So yes, it does. Us bringing in players who can play in those areas are really key, but it's also key that we have cover for the players who might break down and the players that can play two different positions. So it doesn't change anything, but what it does do is it provides us with opportunities to be able to look at people as well as asking them to perform in the fire.
And then second question to that, you mentioned how important it is to keep 11 players on the pitch, how important it is, how much of the instruction is to make sure that for the players to keep their heads cool, knowing the potential that these kind of clashes bring, antagonizing players and everything, and how important it is for us to get a first win against Mexico on home soil in 10 plus years.
Yeah. It is. And I mean, we keep saying that to them. The players know what's expected of them. We've got one more session today. If you notice that a tiny little bit of air before the last game, the Mexican game, and then when Damien got sent off, it all went. It was just that stressful in that game because we were so close. And I feel we're getting closer to Mexico and closer to beating them. So it's important that we keep everybody on the pitch. We'll kick ourselves if we lose, if the same thing happens again. Because I really do believe 11 players from Jamaica can beat 11 players from Mexico on home soil. And then we take, that form into next year. So, yeah, it's really important that I express that to them. But I also give them the damage limitations as well, because things happen in a match. We could go 11 against 10, and there's things that I need to ask the players to do if that happens. So things happens in games, just how you react to them.
That's coach.
Nice one.
All right. Next person, open your mic and shoot.
Oh. Okay, good day to everybody. Good day, Mr. Bailey, and good day to Gaffer Paul Hall. This is Omar Blair from the Formula Sports. Firstly, big congrats on the victory at the National Stadium over Suriname. It was really a very pleasing performance to see. My first question is, and by the way, good luck as well in the upcoming game as well. You guys are going to need it. Omari Hutchinson, wonder boy out of the Arsenal setup. Firstly, when are we most likely to see this player again in the national team? Where exactly is the documentation process with this player, and are there any issues that has arisen where the documentation is concerned for this player?
Okay, so I really want to see him play. That's why I invited him to Catalonia, as well as others. There are others that are interested. He's probably the most serious. Along with others, there are others who have come through as well. The documentation process, I don't know where that is. I know that he's filed it, but it takes a little bit of time for that process to go through. So I'm looking for it to come through as quickly as possible. I want to really provide a pathway for him into our first team. That's going to take some time. And just like Mexico did with his friend Flores, we're looking at trying to, really blood him in and try to get him in and around the first team as much as possible, but really take care with his growth and really make sure that he's not put into the fire too long, too early. Just like how we're taking care of Richard King and others who are young, Chongi and other players like that. So it's important. But yeah, I want him in and around it as quickly as possible. And the documentation, I know that he's put it in. So for me, that's enough of a commitment for me to be as serious about him as he is about us.
Okay. All right, let's move on. Let's move on to that one final question.
You asked about 3 already, you know that, right?
No man, that was my first. Mr. Bailey.
That was 3-1. But let's go to the next one.
All right, cool. Quickly, my final question.
That's a good question now.
I think it is. I think it is.
Right.
It's a player that I have a lot of time for. A player by the name of Javan and this. He is a right back signed to Lazio on loan in the Eredivisie. And from what I last heard, he had challenges where his documentation is concerned. Now, one, is it a player that you are aware of? And if so, what are your thoughts on this particular player coming into our setup?
Okay, so I've had conversations with 8 players in that position, all of very, very high quality, right? Very, very high quality, because I'm trying to bring the best into what we're doing and then letting everybody fight it out for themselves. And we've had long discussions about Javan coming in. And again, what I have said is, because he could have played for Suriname as well. That's where that's where his documentation is. He's half Surinese, I think, and half Jamaican. And I've looked at what he's doing in the I think he's in the Dutch league at the moment. Yes, he is of interest, but like I say, if I'm not able to pick them through documentation, then they just remain somebody who becomes a person of interest. So it's important that we get these guys. Javan Anderson. There's loads of players who have approached. Some are still waiting to see what England are doing. I've been quite aggressive with that recruitment drive since we broke up the last time. And I've just wanted to say to the players, look, I want you to come to a team that's growing, come and grow with us. And, we're looking to do some really special things in the future with this team, and we need the best players. And I think Javan just needs to be able to really try to sort his papers out as quickly as possible, because he can then be considered.
All right, Fabulous, what you go with that? Let's move to the next person.
Yes, Mr. Bailey, thank you.
Yeah, my respect. Let's move to Daniel Blake. Yeah, Daniel, go ahead.
Hi, good afternoon, Coach. 2 questions. Is it easier to prepare now for the game, knowing that things are sort of easing down in terms of the off-the-field issues?
Okay. All right. Yes, it is. The soul is calm. The soul is calm. I think it's important that off the field you're looking forward to the game. I think the players. What I've said to the players is, look, we want peace. We want to be able to have an open mind when we go into the game and a peaceful mind when we go into the game. And it's then important for them to put on a performance. They did last week, and I'm expecting them to do this week as well. I actually want Mexico to look, and all the teams to look and fear us. That's a dream of mine. So yeah, it is a very good feeling, but you've got to back that up with a performance. Otherwise, sometimes you can play well when there's chaos going on. So, I'd like it to be calm, 100%.
And finally, last week you spoke about your commitment to the program, and a lot of the fans seem to be on your side. We saw that in the National Stadium. How good does it feel to know that the fans are supporting you, and what would you say heading into the Mexico game to the fans in such an important game?
Yeah, again, it was fantastic. They are really, truly the 12th man, as we say, or the 12th person in the stadium, and the players reacted to that. And again, it feels so good to have the support of the public, and knowing that everybody's putting Jamaica first. That's key. We need to put Jamaican football first, and the image of Jamaica first. So yeah, it was very, very good. I want more supporters to come out. Let's show them, build a vibe, show the people, make it for Mexico how it's going to be for us next year when we play them away. So really it's really time to make them feel uncomfortable with our support. And it's really good to see the fans in the stadium. Trust me, and we need to build on that, because it's the start of something new beginnings. And let's make sure that we get those fans out and make sure that we show the team support, and we can, return that with a good performance.
All right, final person coming up. Final questions. Well, looks like everybody's happy to this point.
Just a quick one.
One question. Can I ask next question?
If it's somebody who's brand new,
Okay, I'm not brand new.
go ahead. Final question.
Okay, Mr. All. Tiga again from Sports Down the Middle. What are the areas on the field do you think the Jamaicans need to strengthen to face Mexico?
Well, we need to improve in wide areas. I think we need to improve in our ruthlessness in front of goal. I really do believe that we need to tidy up in most areas. Really, we're at home, and we've got some really good players who, when they're on their game, they can beat a team and really make a statement. But it's important that we do that and we show that, and we're right from the word go. We make it uncomfortable for a team that we know is good, but we know that they're beatable. That's what I'm saying. We need to improve in all areas. Nobody plays the perfect game, and if we could really improve in wide, centre back, midfield, up front, it's important that we raise our performance. Like I said, if I would take an 11% increase in the team's performance tomorrow, and if every player gave me 1% increase, we would get that. So that's the league, and then 1% more, please, and then we'll win that game for sure.
All right. I'm sure if you beat Mexico tomorrow, you can talk to the JFF. They'll give you a 10% increase. All right. Just to say one thing, after the game tomorrow, the coach will not be able to give interviews on the field. CONCACAF has come down hard, and they're saying that no interview should be done on the field, coach. So after the game, you're going to walk straight to the dressing room and then straight to the press conference. There's a press conference in the VIP room 10 minutes after the game, so we're asking you to gather there and questions can be asked of the coach. Thank you very much. Thanks,